So this week's Parsha starts off Ve'ele HaMishpatim, and these are the laws. So Rashi tells us that the word Ve'ele is very exact. Whenever the Torah says Eile, these are, it's starting a new portion, a new section. Whenever it says Ve'ele, and these are, it means that these are a continuation of what we were previously discussing. Right? So we were previously speaking about the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai, and this is a continuation. These laws were also given on Mount Sinai. So the obvious question is that the entire Torah was given on Mount Sinai, not just these laws. Right? What's so special about these laws that the Torah stresses that they were given on Mount Sinai? So the Ramban has an interesting explanation. He says that most of the mitzvahs in the Torah were told to Moshe on Mount Sinai. But what was the process? First of all, on the day of the giving of the Torah, the day of Shavuos, when the Torah was given, Hashem came down on the mountain, and he said that to him and Moshe Rabbeinu said over the 10 Commandments. It was a great revelation of God. And then, after that revelation, Moshe went up the mountain, and he spent 40 days studying the entire Torah. So most of the Torah was given not on the actual day when, the day of Shavuos, the day of Matan Torah, rather was given over the next 40 days. But these laws, the monetary laws which are written in this week's Torah portion, the laws of how people need to interact when they do business with each other, how, the laws of damages, laws of business, were given not during the 40 days when Moshe was on the mountain, but actually on the day when the Torah was given, the day of the great revelation, the day of Matan Torah, when Hashem said the 10 Commandments. On that same day, right after he finished the 10 Commandments, he said these laws. That's why this is a continuation of the previous Torah portion. And the question on this Ramban is why? Why did Hashem choose these laws, and instead of including them with the rest of the Torah, instead of including the laws of monetary law of business, together with the rest of the Torah that was taught during the 40 days, Hashem decided to teach it on the day when the Torah was given. So,
teach to
what?
To everyone or to Moshe?
It was taught to Moshe to tell to everybody.
That day.
Yes, that day.
There was also
So the Medrash Rabbah tells us a story about Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. And Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, of course, was one of the holiest people in history. And his, of course, even though he lived in this world, his soul was floating around in the upper realms. And if this was true the entire year, it was certainly even more true on Rosh Hashanah, right? On the first day of the year, when they sit in judgment in heaven, and the soul of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai would go up into the upper realms, and he was aware of everything that was decreed in heaven. One year, the day after Rosh Hashanah, on the Tzom Gedalia, the fast of Gedalia, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai calls over his 2 nephews. He sends a messenger to call his 2 nephews, so he called over his 2 nephews who were businessmen, and he told them, it's very important to earn a lot of money in your business. It's very important to give charity, to give tzedakah. Of course, uncle, we know how important that is, and we give a large portion of our earnings to tzedakah. And Shimon Bar Yochai says that's great, but this year I want you to make an extra effort. An extra effort to give more money to charity. Okay, sure. If you say so, then, of course they understood there must be a reason why their uncle is telling them this. And Shimon Bar Yochai continues, I want you to go a step further. I want you to go out and I want you to buy a notebook. And I want you in this notebook to keep track of all the tzedakah that you give. Right? Today everyone does that anyways, because for tax purposes you got to keep track of all your charity that you give. You got to get a good tax write-off. But in those days, it wasn't a common practice for people to write down all the tzedakah. I want you to have a notebook, and whenever you give charity, I want you to write it down. Okay, of course, they go out. They get each one gets own little notebook, and everyone who comes to them for tzedakah, they make sure to give a very generous donation, and they write down exactly how much they gave. Right, everything is going well, and few months pass by, And towards the end of the year, they're sitting in their business one day, their shop, and suddenly a group of Roman soldiers burst into their store and tells them, "You're under arrest for tax evasion." And I don't know what they're talking about. We did everything by the books. Everything is legal. No, we are being accused of illegally importing stuff, and you're being taken to you're under arrest. And they arrested them. And of course, as soon as it happened, they immediately sent a messenger to their uncle, right? Anyone who's in trouble would ask, their rebbe, their teacher, especially if it's tzaddik like Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, for help. And certainly since it's also their uncle, so they immediately sent a messenger to Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, and Rav Shimon Bar Yochai went to visit them in prison. And they tell him exactly what's going on, that they're accused of tax evasion, and the government wanted to fine them 600 gold coins. 600 gold coins. Very large amount of money. So Shimon Bar Yochai says, "Do you by any chance have your notebooks with you?" I said, "Of course." So he says, "Well, maybe you can sit down and make a calculation how much tzedakah you gave this year." Okay, so they have a lot of time in prison, so they sit down, and they can't just automatically do an Excel sum. So they sit down and they start working through all the tzedakah that they gave, and they, after doing all the calculations, they tell their uncle that this year we have given 594 gold coins to tzedakah. Okay, that's great, says Rav Bar Yochai. So there's just 6 coins left. If you give me 6 coins, I'll get you out of prison. Okay, that sounds good. They give him 6 coins. He goes, he says, "I got to talk to whoever's in charge of their case." And, they call in the prosecutor, and he says, "Listen, I know that they're being accused of different crimes, but here I have 6 coins as a fine they'll pay to get them released." So it's like 6 coins, no problem. They're good. You're good to go. He takes the 6 coins and they're free. His nephews are shocked, right? They wanted 600 coins, 6 coins, and they tell Shimon Bar Yochai what's going on over here. And he says it's very simple. On Rosh Hashanah, Hashem decides exactly how much money everyone is supposed to earn this year. And I saw that this year you were supposed to lose 600 gold coins. And I figured, instead of you losing 600 gold coins, instead of the 600 gold coins being taken away by the government, why don't you instead give the 600 gold coins to tzedakah? Wow. So that's why I told you to give extra tzedakah this year and keep track of everything you did. And at the end of the year, when you told me that you had given 594 gold coins, I realized there are only 6 left. So I took the 6 coins and he got you released. So they say, well, if that was the case, if you saw that we had to give 600 gold coins, then you should have told us that. We would have avoided the whole prison experience, right? So he said, no. If I would have told you that you have to lose 600 gold coins, and it could have been through the government or it could have been through tzedakah, then you wouldn't have given tzedakah for the right reasons, right? You would have given tzedakah to avoid prison time. I want you to give tzedakah for the right reasons. Right?
I think this year, Shana, we should share the story when we did some auctioning.
Of course.
So, whoever's doing it this year, please take heed.
Yeah. So Hashem, in the beginning of the year, he decides exactly how much money a person is going to earn. Right? Now, we could choose exactly how that money will come to us, and how, if we're supposed to lose money, how that money will leave us. Right? But we can't change the amount. If it's decreed 600 gold coins will be lost, that's what will be lost, right? Doesn't make a difference if it might be we could choose if it's to tzedakah, if it's to other purposes, but we cannot change that amount of money. There was once a teacher, a malamed, a children's teacher, who lived in the city of Prague around 300 years ago. And in the city of Prague, there were a lot of people who studied Torah, and there were a lot of teachers, and there was a lot of competition. And not too many, this young teacher, I don't know what his name was, what should we call him?
This is a story about Avraham.
Avraham, okay. So Avremel was not able to earn a living as a teacher in Prague. So he decided he's going to travel around and find somewhere else. You know, in the many Jews in those days used to live in like the little villages where there was no Torah, there was no rabbi there, and there were no teachers there, and they would look to bring down a teacher to teach their children. So he began traveling around, and he heard that in a village, a bit of a distance from Prague, they were looking for a teacher, and they're willing to pay very well for somebody to come down. So, he said goodbye to his family. He said, I'm going to be away for the next few months. It was right after Sukkot. He said, I'm going to be away for the winter. And he went to this little village, and he spent the next 5 months teaching. And they paid him very well. At the end of the period, they paid him 100, I don't know if it was rubles or whatever the currency was in Prague at that time, 100 coins, right? This is a good deal of money. He can come home now. It's right before Pesach. He's going to be able to come home. He's going to be able to spend Pesach with his family, and he earned a lot of money, Baruch Hashem. But how's he going to get home, right? It's a bit of a distance from Prague. It's going to take a few days to travel home. So, he prepares some food, and he prepares a bag of supplies, and of course he has his money with him in a little bag, a little pouch, and he heads out on the road. And he's walking on the road. He knows it's going to be a very long trip. And as he's walking on the side of the road, he hears a wagon riding up beside him. And there's a Jew on the wagon, a Jewish wine merchant. And the wine merchant calls out, my fellow Jew, Rabbi Yid, where are you going? And he says, I'm going to Prague. Wonderful, I'm also going to Prague. I just, I got all this wine, the whatever vineyards I have in the countryside, and I got this wine press, and now I'm bringing this wine to Prague to sell for Pesach. So come onto my wagon. I'll give you a ride. Wonderful. For free. He's going to do him a favor. He's a nice guy. Right? Come onto my wagon. He comes onto the wagon, and they begin to travel. And they're traveling, and it's Friday already, and they realize they're not going to, they're obviously not going to get home before Shabbos. It's going to be another couple of days, and they need to find a place to stay for Shabbos. They find a little inn on the side of the road, and they pull the wagon into the inn, and they're going to stay in this inn for Shabbos. So Avremel the Melamed is, he's in this place. He doesn't know anybody here. It's a little inn. There's no Jews living around over here. He doesn't know anybody, and he doesn't know what to do with his money. He has 100 coins in a little pouch, right? And he obviously can't carry the money around with him on Shabbos, and he doesn't want the money. No, he's not in Prague. They're a bit of a distance, a day journey from Prague, but he has to be here for Shabbos. So what should he do with his money? He has to find a way, place to put his money. He can't trust anybody. He doesn't want to ask anybody to hold his money for him. He doesn't know anybody here, and he doesn't trust anybody here. So he starts looking for a place that he could hide his money. And he notices in the back of the wagon that he was traveling in, the whole back of the wagon is filled with barrels of wine. So he figures that's a good place to hide my money. So he waits till no one's looking, and he crawls into the back of the wagon, and he crawls under the barrels of wine. So he lifts up some barrels of wine, and he sticks a little pouch with coins under the barrels of wine. Okay, he goes into the inn. He spends Shabbos there. The second Shabbos is over. He rushes out of the inn. He runs to the wagon. He starts picking up the barrels, and the money's not there. Okay, maybe it's under a different barrel. He starts picking up different barrels, moving everything around. Money's gone. Money's gone. Somebody must have seen him. Somebody must have taken the money. Who could it be? He starts thinking, who was around? Who could have seen him? The only one who could have been was the wine merchant. So he goes over to the wine merchant and he says, listen, it's very nice of you to give me a ride, to take me home, but what happened to my money? He's like, I don't know, what money? And he says, I had 100 coins, and I had it in a little bag, and I put it in the wagon, under the wine, and it's gone. Oh, that's terrible. Let's start, ask the innkeeper, maybe he knows. He's like, no, the innkeeper doesn't know. I want to know what you know. And he's like, How dare you? Accusing me after everything I did for you? I give you a ride on my wagon, and you accuse me of being a thief? How dare you? What chutzpah! I should throw you onto the side of the road now, but I'm such a nice guy, I'll let you continue traveling on my wagon, but don't you dare mention this again. Okay, what does he do? He has no proof, right? So, and he has to get home. So he travels with the wine merchant to Prague. And when they come to Prague, he doesn't know what to do. He's coming home now after half a year. His family, in the meantime, had taken out loans to pay for their expenses. And they're expecting him to come home and pay back. And now he has nothing. So he decides to go to the rabbi of Prague, the Noida B'Yehuda, Rabbi Cheskel Landau, the Noida B'Yehuda. And he comes to Noida B'Yehuda and he starts crying and telling him the whole story. I spent half a year working. I worked so hard. And I managed to earn 100 coins. And this is what happened. And, he tells him the whole story. And Noida B'Yehuda listens to him and he says, don't worry. The wine merchant is going to come to me over the next few days. He has to get a hechsher for his wine, right? He's going to be selling the wine in Prague. He's going to have to come to me to get a kosher certification. So I'll take care of it. Okay, fine. Avremel goes home. The next day, the wine merchant comes to the Noida B'Yehuda, and he says, I have 50 barrels of wine, and I need the Rav's certification. I have here a big donation from my Schitim. He gives the Rav a big donation. And I don't know the exact amount, but it was a nice donation for my Schitim. And the Rav tells him, there's a little bit of a problem with the kosher certification. He says, what's the problem? My wine is the best wine out of Mashgiach, watching it the whole time. I'm telling you, we made everything was done perfectly. And the Rav says, no, there's a little bit of a problem. Yesterday, Avremel the Melamed came to see me. Oh, Avremel the Melamed, yes, I gave him a ride. Did he say how much he appreciates the kindness I did for him? And he says, yeah, of course. He told me all about the ride you gave him. But he told me that you took him for a ride, right? He told me that he had 100 coins that were stolen from your wagon. What? He has the chutzpah to accuse me of theft after everything I did for him. He starts yelling and screaming. And of course, Rabbi Cheskel takes one look at him and he realizes this, someone who protests too much is, it's pretty clear why he's protesting and why he's getting so angry. So after he finishes yelling and screaming, the Noida B'Yehuda tells him, Chas v'shalom, I would never accuse you of theft. But there's a different problem. See, the problem is, if the money was stolen, obviously, I would never imagine that it was you, but obviously somebody must have broken into your wagon and stolen the money, right? And you were in an area there was no Jews in the area, so it was probably a Gentile. It was probably a guy, right? And if a guy broke into your wagon and he moved around all the wine barrels, you have a big problem. Wine that was handled by a guy is not kosher. It's yayin nesach. I cannot give certification on this wine. But Rabbi, maybe it was a Jewish thief. Well, even if it was a Jewish thief, says Rabbi Cheskel, the money was hidden shortly before Shabbos. And no thief would go sneaking around the wagon during daylight. It was probably, they had to wait till it was dark. So they must have gone in on Shabbos. And a Jew who violates Shabbos, his wine that he touches is yayin nesach also. It's not kosher. So you have a big problem. So I'm going to have to declare that all of your wine this year is not kosher. And the wine merchant realizes this is a very serious situation for him, right? His wagon full of wine is worth a lot more than 100 rubles. It's worth a few thousand rubles. And he says, no, Rabbi, I'm telling you, I did it. You did it? Well, did you do it on Shabbos? If you did it on Shabbos, it doesn't help? No, I promised you it was before Shabbos. I watched him hide the money and I ran and I took it. It was before Shabbos. It's not a problem. My wine is kosher. Okay, well, if that's the case, he says, well, then you're a thief. I don't know if we can trust you. No, I'm going to give all the money back. I'm going to do tshuva. Okay, you got to give the money back, but you also caused him a lot of anguish. Maybe you should also reimburse him for the anguish you caused. No problem, I'm going to give him 200 rubles, right? I'm going to apologize, I'm going to give him 200 rubles. He made sure they called Avremo right away. The guy gave him 200 rubles, and I'm sure the wine merchant learned his lesson.
For sure.
So the Noda Yehuda is now faced with a problem, right? He sees this wine merchant who is dishonest, and he stole 100 rubles. So what did he do? He said, in order to make sure that this guy does not steal money, I have to make sure that he doesn't benefit from his theft. I have to make sure that he ends up losing money through his theft, right? Now, and he, obviously he was able to orchestrate it. He came up with the plan, with the right tools to actually implement what he wanted to accomplish. But as great as the Noda Yehuda is, Hashem is infinitely greater, right? And Hashem knows each and every one of us what we do in our business, and He knows how we run our business. And Hashem also, when He sees a person who's not being honest, it's very clear that Hashem will not let a person benefit from his dishonesty. Especially, since as we mentioned earlier, Hashem decides on Rosh Hashanah exactly how much money a person will earn. So a person who is dishonest and thinks he's going to steal money, the Torah tells us that you're not going to gain anything from it. You're not going to make an extra penny from your dishonesty. It might seem like you're getting it temporarily, right? But obviously you can go on medical expenses, chas v'shalom, it can go on other losses that'll happen. But a person will not end up benefiting. Hashem will not let a person benefit from dishonesty. A story that we've actually said before, but it's very relevant to the situation. In the 13th century, in the city of Paris, there were two silversmiths. Their names were Naftali Azaria and Yaakov Avudraham. And both of them were students of Rabbeinu Yechiel of Paris. And they were both big Torah scholars, and they were very well versed in Kabbalah. And one year on Rosh Hashanah, before Rosh Hashanah, they knew, of course, what we already mentioned a few times in this class, that on Rosh Hashanah, Hashem decides exactly how much money a person is supposed to earn during that year. So they decided, they were very curious, they wanted to know exactly how much money they're going to earn next year. So they decided, since they were very well versed in Kabbalah, they decided to do a shaylas chaloim, a question in a dream. It's a certain way you can ask a question and get an answer in a dream. So they decided that either on Rosh Hashanah or maybe right after Rosh Hashanah, they're going to make a shaylas chaloim to find out exactly how much money they're supposed to earn this year. Now, Ari mentioned other people that did it, but usually people who do it to find out more important information, not to find out how much money they're going to earn this year. They were interesting fellows, these two silversmiths. They decided to use the shaylas chaloim to find out how much money they were going to earn this year. And they made a shaylas chaloim, and they found out, they were told in their dream, that Yaakov was supposed to earn 150 gold pieces this year. And Naftali was told that he would earn 200 gold pieces this year. So, this is very interesting information. The next morning, they came to their teacher, Rabbeinu Yechiel, and they told him about their dreams. And he says, this is very interesting. I've never heard somebody use a shaylas chaloim for this purpose. But now that you've actually got this information, we have to actually verify it. So this year I want you to keep track. I want you to get a QuickBooks, and I want you to keep track of all of your business expenses, all of the income, all the money that comes in, all the money that comes out. And I want you both to come to me next year on Erev Rosh Hashanah, and we're going to go over the books. We're going to see if it's true. Okay, wonderful. They get their books and they start writing down everything that happens throughout the year. About sometime in the middle of the year, Yaakov and Naftali did business together. They worked together on some big silver project, and they earned a good deal of money. And when it came time to divide the money, they got into an argument, right? No, I should get more. You should get. I should get more. I should get more, right? And they decided to go for a din Torah. to Rabbeinu Yechiel. So they went to Rabbeinu Yechiel, and Yaakov claimed that Naphtali owes him 6 gold coins, according to his calculations. And Naphtali said, "No, it's not true. It wasn't. This is not what happened. I was the one who bought this, and he was the one who bought that, and I did this work, and he did that work." And based on, he made the argument that he didn't owe any money. So Rabbeinu Yechiel asked Yaakov if he has any evidence, any proof for his claim, and he didn't. It was based on their agreement, based on their discussion that they had on their private agreement. What?
Why don't we look at the
So the book was how much money they came in and how much money went out, but it wasn't their agreement that they made between themselves wasn't written down. They didn't have a contract. And Naphtali said, "No, it's not true. I don't owe him any money." And Rabbeinu Yechiel said to Yaakov, "You have a good claim, but you don't have any proof. So I can't take money from somebody without proof. So he doesn't need to pay you the six gold coins." Okay, fine. They both go back to their business, and a few more months pass by, and finally, Erev Rosh Hashanah rolls around. And Yaakov and Naphtali come to Rabbeinu Yechiel, and they sit down and they make all the calculations together. This is early in the morning on Erev Rosh Hashanah, and they calculate that Yaakov had earned that year 144 gold coins. And Naphtali had earned 206 gold coins. So Rabbeinu Yechiel turns to Naphtali and he says, "Listen, it's pretty clear that you actually owe him those coins, right? You got 6 extra coins, and he's missing 6 coins. So even though there was no proof, and obviously you remember your agreement in a certain way, but obviously you're wrong. It's pretty clear from the numbers. The numbers don't lie, and you owe him 6 gold coins. So if I were you, I would give him 6 gold coins." Naphtali says, "Is that a law? I mean, are you going to rule that I have to pay him money based on a dream?" And Rabbeinu Yechiel says, "No, I'm not ruling that as a halacha. I'm just giving you advice. I'm telling you that it's pretty clear that you owe him the money. Now, I can't tell you have to pay him, but I would advise you to pay him because you owe him the money." And Naphtali says, "Absolutely not. I don't rule based on dreams. It's obviously the dreams were wrong, and I'm not giving him a penny." Okay, fine. So they leave Rabbeinu Yechiel and they go to work. Apparently they worked on Erev Rosh Hashanah. I guess they worked for half a day. They go to their stores, and Yaakov's sitting in his store. As soon as he gets to the store, there's a long line of customers, right out, all the way out down the street. The whole line of customers waiting to buy things. And within the few hours that he worked that day, he managed to earn 6 gold coins. Amazing, wonderful. He got the money that he deserved. In the meantime, Naphtali goes to the store. It's completely empty, and he's sitting there. He waits an hour, no customers. 2 hours, no customers. 3 hours. It's already in the afternoon. He's soon going to have to close the store. Not one customer came in the whole day. Usually, at least people come in to browse, to ask questions. Not one customer the whole day. He's furious. He's like, this must be some sort of punishment. I don't know. Or what I did, maybe Rabbeinu Yechiel is angry at me, and he's getting really angry at Rabbeinu Yechiel. He's getting angry at Hashem. He's getting angry at his dream. He's getting angry at Yaakov, and he's furious. He's wasting the whole day in the store. Not one customer walks in. Finally, he decides, "That's it. I'm leaving." He walks out, and as he leaves the store, he slams the door shut, and the big, beautiful stained glass door shatters into a million pieces. Right? We can't leave the store like this with the door open. People are going to come in. They're going to rob his store. So he quickly goes. He finds someone who could repair the door, and the guy tells him, "No problem. I'm going to put up boards over the door now, and I'll come next week to fix it. It's going to cost you 6 gold coins." Right? So, obviously, somebody who owes somebody money and thinks that by not paying, you're going to earn more. It might help for a short period of time, but Hashem already decided exactly how much money we're going to earn this year. And this explains, Rav Moshe Feinstein, is why this portion of Mishpatim, the monetary business laws, were given to the Jewish people at the time of Matan Torah. Not during the 40 days that Moshe was in heaven, but during the revelations of Matan Torah. Why? When it comes to any other mitzvah that we have, right? For example, we have laws of kosher. So a person has a choice, right? A person has a choice. I can choose to do what's right and eat kosher food, or I could choose, I really like bacon, it's really delicious, and I want to have a good bacon sandwich, right? And I have a choice. I know, right? We're talking, let's say somebody who believes in the Torah, he believes in Hashem, and he knows that it's wrong, but he still has to make a choice. I can either decide to have this delicious bacon sandwich, right? And I know I'm going to pay for it later, and I know that whatever, it's not going to be worth it in the end, but right now, I'm going to enjoy this bacon sandwich. Or I could decide to forgo this pleasure, right? And get a much bigger reward and get other, connect to Hashem and accomplish a whole bunch of great things, bring Mashiach closer, live a happier and more enjoyable life. But if I make that choice, I'm going to lose out on the bacon sandwich, right? I'm not going to get it, right? So I have to make a choice. So a person who eats this bacon sandwich, it doesn't mean that he doesn't believe in Hashem. He might believe in Hashem, but he also likes bacon, right? It's a choice he made.
He thinks about now more than
He thinks about now more than the future, maybe. Yeah. Yes. Right? So, he believes in everything. He believes in the Torah, he believes in the mitzvahs, but he made a choice. But when it comes to someone who's dishonest in business, says Rav Moshe, it's not that he chooses to get the bacon sandwich. It's not that he chooses to get extra money. He's not going to get the money. It's not going to help you. It's not that you have a choice to get extra money and then get punished in the world to come. You're getting money, but it's not going to be yours. You're going to end up earning the same exact amount of money. A person who is dishonest in business, it's not that he believes in the mitzvah and he made a choice, he wants to get more money, because he's not going to get more money. It means that he doesn't believe that Hashem is actually running everything in the world. It means that he has a lack of belief in Hashem's involvement in this world. And that's why, says Rav Moshe, when at Matan Torah, when Hashem's presence was revealed in the world, and not just on Har Sinai, but throughout the entire world, the whole world stood still. Birds stopped chirping. The water stopped flowing. Animals stood still. The wind stopped blowing. It was clear that the whole world is being run according to Hashem's will. At that moment, Hashem came along and gave these laws to make it very clear that a person who thinks that I'm going to sin and get more money, it's not true. You're not going to get more money. You're not going to earn 1 penny more than Hashem decreed on Rosh Hashanah. And to conclude with one final story, in October 1951, more than 20 Jewish organizations met in New York, and they formed the Conference on Jewish Material Claims Against Germany. In September of 1952, as part of the Luxembourg Agreement, Germany, obviously right after the Holocaust, agreed to pay at the time about $107 million reparations for Jews who suffered in the Holocaust. Over the next few years, in 1956 and 1957, there were more laws passed to compensate Jews for their suffering, their injuries, both physical injuries, also for restriction on personal freedom, harm to economic and professional growth, damage to personal property. And through these laws, through 2011, that's the study that I saw now, about $2.5 billion have been paid out to Holocaust survivors. So, in the late 50s, there was a Jew, Rabbi Avram Steiner, a Holocaust survivor who had moved to Israel and lived in Bnei Brak. And when his children heard that, there was payments for Holocaust survivors, so they, of course, immediately filed a claim for their father. I guess the children themselves had managed to escape, but their father had suffered a lot, and they filed a claim for him. And they were told that there is a amount of money that was given to all survivors, but somebody who actually had injuries from the war, there were larger amounts that they were able to get. And Rabbi Avram Steiner had certain injuries. In the story, it's not clear what they were, but whatever the injuries were, they were injuries that were not visible. I guess they're more internal things, and there were things that were hard to document and prove. It was, he wasn't able to get, a proof that he had these injuries. So his children filed a claim. And they were told that the process for such a claim, if there wasn't clear proof that you had these injuries, so the way the German government went about it is they had a doctor a German doctor who would speak to the survivor who claimed to have these injuries, and he would talk to them about it, and he would decide based on their conversation whether to what? No, it was over the phone. It was going to be over. It was a conversation over the phone.
That wouldn't be fair.
It wouldn't be again. It's something that you wouldn't be able to see anyways, right? So they would talk to him over the phone, and the doctor would make a decision whether to grant the reparations, the compensation. So his son immediately called his father, Ram, and he said, they're going to call you we made a schedule an appointment in a few days, and I spoke to a lawyer, and when they call you, you have to tell them how terrible you've been suffering, how every day it brings you pain and trauma, and you have to really, come up with a really good story for them on the phone. And he says, it's not true. I'm not going to say something that's not true, but you're going to get a lot of money. And he said, it doesn't matter how much money I'm going to get. Hashem decides how much money I'm going to get. And the Germans don't decide how much money I'm going to get. And I'm going to tell them the truth. I'm going to tell them exactly what happened to me. And I'm not going to exaggerate. And they say, listen, we spoke to... So son calls him back a few hours later. He says, I spoke to a bunch of rabbis, and it's halachically, it's perfectly okay for you to exaggerate. You're not lying. You're just exaggerating. And not only that, everybody exaggerates in such cases. So the Germans know that you're going to be exaggerating. It's not like you're fooling them in any way. They expect this, and this is normal. And not only that, it's true. Your claim itself is true. It's just you have no proof, and the only way to convince them is by exaggerating. So we came up with this whole story. You have to tell them how every day it causes you constant pain and trauma, and if they ask you this, you got to tell them that. He comes up with the whole, starts coaching his father how to respond. His father says, "Listen, I'm going to tell them the truth. Don't tell me what I should tell them. Okay? He's going to ask me a question. I'm going to tell him the truth. Okay." It comes the day of the scheduled appointment, and that morning his son calls him again, and he says, Dad, we got to prepare for this call you're going to get later. The doctor's going to ask you this question. I want you to answer like this, and then he's going to ask you this, and I want you to answer. And the father's like, listen, I told you already. I'm going to tell them exactly. I'm going to tell them the truth. I'm not going to tell them about any pain or trauma that I'm having that doesn't exist. I'm going to tell them the injuries that I had and exactly what it caused. Okay. His son hangs up the phone. 5 minutes later, he gets another call. Now it's from the attorney that his son was in contact with. He's like, listen, Rabbi, I know you have these reservations about the claims, but we spoke to a bunch of rabbis. Everything's clear. You're allowed to do it. Not only that, everybody's doing it. And listen, this is what you have to do. This is just a procedure. This is how it's done. And Abraham says, I told my son already, and I'm going to tell you the same thing. I'm going to tell him the truth. But you're going to lose so much money. He says, Hashem decided exactly how much money I'm supposed to get this year. It's not some doctor in Germany who decided. Okay? An hour before the appointment, he gets a call. His oldest son is on the line, and he says, Father, let's practice. I'm the doctor, and I'm going to ask you a question. I want to know exactly how you feel based on the injury that you had 10 years ago. And his father's like, I already told you, I don't need any coaching. I'm going to tell the doctor exactly I'm going to tell the doctor the exact truth, and please stop bothering me. Okay? His son hangs up the phone. 5 minutes later, he gets another call. His second son is on the phone. He's like, Dad, listen, okay, I'm the doctor right now, and let me ask you a question. And he starts trying to coach him, and the father's getting very frustrated. He said, listen, I told you already a few times. I told your brother. I told you. I'm not doing this. Please stop driving me crazy. I'm not going to talk about any pain or trauma that doesn't exist. And this is what I'm going to tell him the truth. Hangs up the phone. 5 minutes later, gets another call. Right? This is the lawyer again, and the lawyer says, "Listen, let's practice for the call." And he says, "No, please stop driving me crazy. I told you 100 times. Stop calling me. I don't want to talk about this." And he hangs up the phone. 5 minutes later, he gets another call. This is his third son. His third son. He also wants to coach him, and he says, "Stop driving me crazy. I told you. I don't want to talk to you about this. I don't even know what to tell them about. Don't stop me trying about the pain and the trauma." And he hangs up the phone. As he hangs up the phone, it's another call. And this time, it's an unknown number, and he doesn't realize this is actually the real doctor calling. right? So he picks up the phone, and the doctor's like, so, Avram, I want to talk to you about the injury that you had. Stop driving me crazy. I told you, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about pain and trauma. I don't want to talk to you about this. That's it. Bye. Stop calling me. And he hangs up the phone. The doctor's on the other end. He's like, wow, it's been over 10 years. And he can't even talk about his injury. Can you imagine how much trauma and pain he must be in? And he writes down, he gets the highest level of compensation. Right? So we all need to realize, right? We all need to realize that the portion of Mishpatim was given to the Jewish people at the same time when they saw the greatest revelation of Hashem in this world. They're able to see how everything in the world is run by Hashem, and how everything in the world is decided by Hashem. And it became clear to them at the time that lying and cheating in business, stealing, being dishonest, it's not that you're going to get money and then get punished after 120. It doesn't earn you one extra penny. That was clear to the Jewish people at the time, and it should be clear to all of us that Hashem already decided on Rosh Hashanah exactly how much money we're going to earn. Giving extra tzedakah is not going to take away from that money, and being dishonest is not going to get us one extra penny. So let's make sure to use our money properly and to use it for only good and happy and healthy things. L'chaim, l'chaim.